Hello, everybody. I'm just going to wait a few minutes, give people a chance to come in. I hope everybody had a good weekend. So, anyways, let's see. So, I guess while we're waiting for more people to show up, let's see. Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. He romps and plays, sings, laughs all day. Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. How rich can you get? You're never gonna know till you've met this young boy. Richie Rich is his name. His bank account is as rich as his name. That's Rich, Richie Rich. Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Come on, Scooby Doo, I see you. Pretending you got a sliver. You're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know you got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back. And Scooby-Doo, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? You're ready and you're willing. Then we can count on you, be Scooby-Doo. You know we'll catch that villain. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, looking for you. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? All the stars are here, waiting for you. Couldn't have a show without you. Scooby, Scooby-Doo. Hey, Scooby, where are you? I'm over here. Meet George Jetson. His boy Elroy. Daughter Judy. Jane, his wife. Overture. Cut the lights. This is it. Tonight. And holding apart. No more. On with the show. This is it. Do 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 do. When all the lights are hid, on with the show. This is it. Let's see that. What else? Mass crusaders working overtime, fighting crime. Secret raiders who will neutralize through the veil of rise. Larger is gonna lead, or Matt Track is gonna lead the mission. Spectrum's got such supervision. Math is a mighty power that will save the day. Math, no one knows what lies behind the masquerade. Mask, always riding on Venom's trail until the laser ray on his way. Let's see. He fights for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. I thank you for the like and the share, whoever dropped in for that. I do appreciate that. Hello, you fool, I love you. Want to join the joyride? Join the joyride, yeah. Well, there goes Max on his routine mission. Will he win? With that 4-ply diaper and that safety pin. Fantastic Max! Walking through a crowd in a faceless town, I need to feel the touch of a friend. In the countryside, I wander far and wide. Isolation gets me again. I don't know where to go when I feel like crying. Oh my, you want to open myself, do something new. I want to stop and grow up a bit. Then suddenly my intuition and my wisdom grows, and then I know that most of all compassionately, and strangers wherever they go. Thank you for waking me up. Let's see what else. Let's see what else. I'm just trying to think here. Do 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 do. Let's see now, what else? We're the Hurricanes, our champion experience here to stay. We're the Hurricanes, our champion experience here today. Bionic stick, ooh, ooh. We're all together, we fight for right. Bionic stick, ooh, ooh. We're all a family. Everybody shout, come on, let's hang out. It's time for the groovies get together. We're gonna be how fun we're gonna see how funny they can be. Well, it's time for the Groovy Ghoulie Show. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right. Well, we're just past the 8 minute mark. I guess that would be a good time to kind of start getting going here. So here's what's on tap for tonight. We've um got 5 articles I'm going to go over, all from Bounding into Comics. 4 comics related, 1 anime related. We'll also have some wrestling news to go over, and then of course niche, this day in niche history at the end. So I guess it would be a good time to get set up here. Anyways, so yeah, we're now coming up on 9.5 minutes here. Hopefully everybody, as I said, hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Let's see now. So let's get this shared, and then I guess we'll get going here pretty quickly. All right, there we go. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. We're coming up on 10 minutes, and now we're at the 10-minute mark. So here we go. So yeah, apparently we got a couple stories here involving DC. Um, DC pandering to the LGBTQ plus community. LGBTQIA plus community here. Jonathan Kent, Superman to be gifted, among other things, of course. You got that. We've got let's see. What other stories do we let's see. We got that. We got Marvel is gonna also, so actually both companies and Marvel are pandering to the LGBTQI community as Marvel introduces new transgender character. DC's got a special thing going on with Jonathan Kent. Kevin Feige explains why Kamala Khan's powers and origins are changed for the Discovery Plus TV series, and Tencent's taken back the Conan the Barbarian license from Marvel, as well as the latest arc in the Seven Deadly Sins anime is getting an anime adaptation in the the latest story arc in the um, Seven Deadly Sins manga series getting an anime adaptation from the looks of it. So without any further ado, why don't we get into this stuff here? And I do thank everybody who's liked and shared the stream so far. Hopefully we can get some more friendly people in here. Anyways, Jonathan Kent Superman to be gifted new Pride themed cape in DC Pride 2022 story. Article by JB Augustine, published this past Friday, comic book session. So here we go here. DC Comics has more surprises in store for Jonathan Kent, the son of Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois, who inherited the cape and identity of the Earth's Man of Steel from his Kryptonian dad. And the next one is in keeping with young Jonathan's fluid sexuality. Oh boy, like that's something we all really needed to know. Superman Son of Kal-El, #2 variant cover. DC Comics. In the 2022 DC Pride one shot, he is given a new cape by his boyfriend, Jay Nakamura, that has a special color scheme on one side, Pride themed, rainbow stripes. Yeah, again, nothing says push the older fans away, market to people who don't even buy the comics and just push the core fans away more than this kind of stunt. Jonathan's redesigned super cape is also an LGBTQ flag in part, and he will put those colors on display when he flies slow enough for people to see him. So okay, it's not bad enough they've got him being a climate change activist where he's wasting his powers by participating in protest marches. Now they want to make him a walking billboard for the LGBTQIA plus community. Oh my goodness! Yeah, let's make Superman a billboard. It just screams agenda pushing right there. By the way, Nakamura's gift is unboxed in a DC Pride story called Super Pride, quote unquote, and its colorist, Triona Tree Farrell, shared a preview on Twitter. Again, nothing screams indoctrination more than trying to turn an iconic superhero into a flying billboard. She also shared this was her first job on a Superman story. Quote, I have also wanted to work on Superman comic, and I'm so happy it's this one, unquote, Farrell wrote in her post. The quote-unquote Super Pride short story also comes to us from Devin Grayson, artist Nick Robles, and Aditya Bidikar. Continuing, Farrell shouted them out, quote, "I am so jazzed to be working with Devin Grayson, Nick Robles, and Aditya Bidikar. This Cape and Pride story furthers the creative trend with Jonathan Kent that started with him coming out as bisexual in issue number 5 of Superman, Son of Kal-El. He took another step in the most recent issue, number 10, when he came out to his mom Lois. Multi-talented YouTube commentator Eric D. July, who we all know better as Young Rippa 59, took time out of his busy schedule to talk about the Cape and the creative moves by DC Comics, with the Son of Kal-El especially why they did it. Now, mind you, DC is losing money. They're not selling. This book is not selling. We know it's not selling. But several people show us that it's not selling. Manga is kicking Western comics, but particularly the Big Two's butts. Because the Big Two is more worried about pushing an agenda than making money. And the guy, Vaslov, the guy who's head of Discovery, is not having it. He is cleaning house across the board. But they want, the Twidiots there want to keep pushing this stuff. July reminds his viewers that Son of Kal-El writer Tom Taylor was making media rounds when it was announced John Kent is bisexual, and sees this as more publicity seeking by DC, which is true. Yeah, they're trying to hype it up and get Kari. Is this mic on? Well, the show is called the Mikestand, Kari. I don't know if it's Kari or Carl. Thanks for dropping in to listen in. This is a Mikestand. I'm just tonight Monday through Thursday we go over news articles, and Friday we do a historical comic retrospect. Glad you decided to drop in and check it out. Hopefully you'll stick around for a while and we go through the but yeah, my mic should be on. You should be hearing me. But as for the show itself, it's actually called the Mikestand. So, anyways, welcome to the stream. Hope you had a good weekend or having a good day thus far. And I'm going to continue with the article now. If you have anything to comment on the article about, or have any questions, feel free to ask. And look, like we're getting more people in here. Hello, everybody's friendly people are welcome, obviously. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Part of it is about selling merchandise, July says, but what they are really trying to do is use the symbolism of a beloved character and logo to, quote, legitimize the existence of gay versions of that same IP. Yep. Actually, I pointed that out too before. That's exactly what they're doing. Young Ripper there, Eric July there, he's 100% right. That's exactly what they're doing with characters like Jonathan Kent and Tim Drake. That's what they're doing with all of this. All right? That's exactly what they're doing with it. He calls the writers hacks who are incapable of writing or creating interesting characters that are more than their sexual or ethnic identity. Yeah. Well, it's more than that. It's that they're basically trying to indoctrinate people. Chuck Dixon concurred in an earlier chat with July, where the Batman writer said Tim Drake isn't more interesting now. He's just bisexual. Let's see now. All right. Let's see. Let's see. July added that DC's writers have a stereotyped view of characters they play identity politics with. Thus, they have to be defined by their blackness or their lifestyle or gender, and remind you of it on virtually every page. Uh-huh. Yeah. Pointing to Batgirl's um, trans roommate who wrapped a trans flag around the baseball bat she uses as a weapon, July states, um, quote, they don't know what they're doing, unquote. So they write uninteresting characters just to appeal to these demographics. Yeah, and I think I heard, when it comes to that whole thing with Batgirl and her, trans roommate, all that. I remember hearing something a while back where they were talking a little bit about that, where it's like Barbara was at one point talking about how how she had been shot and basically crippled by the Joker, right? From the Killing Joke storyline. And yet these modern DC writers tried to minimize that, to say that a trans person being misgendered is more horrifying than somebody being crippled by a sociopath. Which just goes to show you just the lack of perspective and just the utter insanity that's in these people's heads. Let's see. Quote, and when it fails, unquote, he continues, quote, they'll blame the customers for not being progressive enough, unquote. And they've been doing that. As manga has continued to kick the you-know-what out of Western comics, out of the Western mainstream comic scene. That's exactly what we've been watching. Everybody from Tom Taylor to Kelly Sue DeConnick and everybody in between. If you guys all remember, we've talked about that before. With Kelly Sue DeConnick, she made that very infamous quote that we all meme about, where she said, "Well, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book." Well, guess what, lady? That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what people did. Insert foot into mouth. DC Pride 2022 comes out at the end of the month to coincide with Pride Month in June. All right. And that scene that they were talking about with the girl with the rainbow flag wrapped around the bat, some Batgirl right there. So, anyways, there's that story. And DC, of course, is not the only company deciding to push the envelope there, as it were. You know that Marvel's doing a little bit of it too here. Marvel Comics to introduce new transgender mutant hero escapade. Article by Spencer McCooley, published this past Friday the 13th. Yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, Friday was the 13th. So it's supposedly the bad luck day, right? But I don't think anybody really. That wasn't. Anyways, so Marvel Comics has revealed their upcoming plans to introduce an original transgender mutant as the 616's newest hero. As announced by the comic book publisher on May 11th, which is last Wednesday, Escapade is set to debut in the second issue of Marvel's Voices, Pride #1. Marvel publishes new issues of their Voices series as separate volumes instead of increasing issues in order to allow for the sale of more first issues. In other words, it sounds like a numbers fixing thing to me, numbers fixing scheme to me. If you have a whole bunch of Voices #1s, it makes it look like they're selling a lot. The same book is selling a lot more than it actually is, but it's not the same book. It's a bunch of different books. When it hits shelves this June. Marvel's Voices Pride Volume 2, #1, 2022. Penned by transgender sci-fi author Charlie Jane Anders. You notice how they seem to and this is something we were just talking about in the last article too. This is something that um there's something that Eric July, young Ripa, was pointing out. Why do we need to know that? Why in the world do we even need to know that the writer's transgender? Hmm? Does anybody really even care? Tell me something. Now, I think with most of my audience, I think I have a pretty good idea how you would feel about it. Um, but just think about this: would you honestly? Are you more likely to buy a book if you thought the person was, in the LGBTQIA plus um, persuasion? Hmm? Would that make you more likely to buy the book or less? I think knowing my regular audience enough, I think I have a pretty good idea what the answer to that might be. But anyway, I'm glad to see 3 people here. People watching. All right, so let's see now. And illustrated by pencil inker pair Rostein and Ted Brandt from Mighty Captain Marvel. Of course, we all know if that's the Brie Larson Captain Marvel they're basing that off of, then and yeah, I think we can see why this book is liable to tank. With colors from colorist Tamra Bonvillian, themselves themselves a trans woman, um, themselves a trans. Okay, are they trying to say there that Tamra Bonvillain is a trans woman? Or are they trying to say all 3 of those people are trans? The trans woman or trans women? You know, the way they typed that out wasn't exactly. Escapade's story will properly introduce readers to Sheila Sexton, a trans mutant who can instantaneously switch physical locations with another person or trade any specific physical or abstract attribute. Um, such as possessions, organizational status, skills, superhuman powers, or even situations. Okay. But could she hold that ability? Could she hold those abilities, or does she have to? Escapade is only able, okay, quote, Escapade is only able to maintain the power for a few hours at a time. Okay. And must be within 7 feet of her target. And the more complex the switch, the higher the chance of a mishap, unquote. Wrote Marvel in a press release. Quote, luckily for Escapade, she has an invaluable partner at her side, her tech savvy best friend, Morgan Red, along with a tool belt containing an arsenal of stolen tools and devices. So she's a bit of a thief. Are we sure she's a? Well, they didn't say she was a hero. They just said she was a transgender mutant. So, quote, together, Escapade and Morgan tear through the Marvel Universe as professional thieves, okay? Stealing from criminal and corrupt organizations until meeting with Emma Frost and Destiny changes the course of Escapade's life forever, unquote. The publisher concluded. Further, the quote 20-page adventure unquote will not only quote reveal her career as a superhero thief unquote, but also quote explore her life as a trans mutant in the Marvel universe unquote. Yeah, because that's really what's selling books right now. Pushing the whole, really trying to put it out front, the whole sexuality angle. Really put that out front, you know, so that everybody can, just shove that in everybody's faces. Yeah, that's what comic book fans are looking for. Hey, Lorenzo, thanks for dropping in. Um, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, so we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Speaking in promotion of the character's upcoming arrival, Anders told Marvel, quote, I have loved the Marvel Universe for as long as I can remember, and may or may not sing the Spider-Man cartoon theme in the shower on a regular basis. So I was so thrilled to be able to introduce a brand new hero to stand alongside all of my favorites, unquote. Appearing to imply that the mutant's aforementioned best friend will be non-binary, the author asserted, quote, I hope that Escapade and Morgan Red will inspire trans and non-binary people everywhere to believe that they, too, can fight for justice and the power of creativity and chosen family. Okay, you could probably do that without pushing it in everybody's faces. Brent added, quote, now more than ever, we need a hero like Sheila Sexton for people to look up to. It was a real honor and a privilege to be part of her creation process. Quote, it's very exciting to be part of bringing a new character into Marvel Comics, unquote, said Steen. Quote, working with Charlie Jane's script was a lot of fun, and I hope people enjoy reading about Escapade as much as we did putting together her first outing on the page, unquote. If if sales numbers in the past stuff give us any indication, I think they're going to be very disappointed. If what we've seen from recent history, I think they're due for a huge load of disappointment. According to Marvel, the mutants' introduction in Marvel's Voices Pride, quote, only marks the beginning of Escapade Saga, as she becomes entangled with the X-Men, and a deadly prophecy is unveiled in her future. Fans can look forward to Escapade's return in the fall in a special story arc of New Mutants, guest written by Anders, unquote. And let's see. Marvel's Voices Pride Volume 2, Number 1 releases on June 22nd. What do you make of Escapade? Let us know your thoughts. Well, I think that if they think that this book is really going to sell a lot, then I think they're in for some major disappointment. I think that's just basically what we've seen. Hey, RJ. Fight for justice. All right, I'll highlight that one. Fight for justice with the power of creativity and chosen family. Yeah, that'll show Magneto what's what. Yeah, yeah, RJ. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's thoughts exactly. Hmm. I think that's a lot of people's thoughts exactly. You hit the nail. And of course, if you guys haven't liked the stream already, if you can do so, that'd be appreciated. Like and share it. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. Anyways, I'll get ready to move on to the next story here. I just oh, anyways, moving on to the next article here. This one's also from other one that has a kind of a Marvel comic connection, but this is more about Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige explains why Kamala Khan's powers and origins are changed for the Miss Marvel Disney Plus series. Article by John F. Trent, published May 13th, which is this past Friday. All right, so Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige recently explained why he and Marvel decided to change not only the powers, but also the origin story for Kamala Khan for the upcoming Ms. Marvel Disney Plus series. Oh, look at how big that hand looks. Oh boy. If you are unfamiliar with Kamala Khan, in the comics she is an inhuman. She is exposed to the Terrigen mist after sneaking out of her house and attending a party. The mist moves through New York City and eventually makes contact with her. Um, kind of like the Big Bang and Milestone comics, like Static Shock series, right? Big Bang gas. After being exposed, she finds herself in the inhuman cocoon and then proceeds to break out. However, upon exiting, she has taken on the form of Carol Danvers. As for her powers, it's shown in Ms. Marvel number 2 that she can manipulate her body numerous ways, from shrinking herself down to making certain parts of her body bigger, like her hands, or to completely taking on the identity of Carol Danvers. So she's it sounds like she's got some of Carol Danvers' powers, but also sounds a little bit like she's got powers of Meteor Man from Hanna-Barbera's um, Birdman and the Galaxy Trio. Feige spoke with Empire, where he revealed all of this will be changed, saying, "quote We adapt the comics. It's not an exact translation." Unquote. He further explained why her powers and origin are being changed. Quote, Kamala, I guess, Kamala came about in a very specific time within the comic book continuity. She is now coming into a very specific time within the MCU continuity, and those two things didn't match, unquote. All right, so I'm guessing what they're meaning is when she was initially introduced, it was one time period or one continuity, but now there's a total. It's like the two continuities that they're comparing here don't mesh. Is what it sounds like he's saying there. They don't mesh. There's no way they can make it work. What I think he's kind of trying to say there. Hey, Woody. If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, that'd be appreciated. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. Whatever those all mean. All right. So he then said, quote, what we will learn about where those powers come from and how they came about is specific to the MCU, unquote. While Khan's powers will be different, Feige does note that her giant hands will be making an appearance. Quote, you will see great comic splash panels in some of our action sequences. If you want big giant hands and arms, well, they're here in spirit, if not in stretchy plastic type ways, a la I guess Plastic Man or Mr. Fantastic. Feige went on to hint the origin of her powers will also be explored in the Marvel's film, saying, quote, it taps into the future of her story as it connects to her other friends that she will meet in the upcoming film, The Marvels, unquote. I wonder what that's going to be all about. He then hinted, quote, she's interested in knowing, in smaller quotes, great, does that mean I'm an Asgardian? Did I get hit with gamma rays? No. It's seemingly none of those things. It goes to her own past and her heritage and lineage. The official description for Ms. Marvel reads, quote unquote, Marvel Studios, quote, Ms. Marvel is a new original series that introduces Kamala Khan, a Muslim American teenager growing up in Jersey City. An avid gamer and voracious fan fiction scribe, Kamala is a superhero mega fan with an oversized imagination, particularly when it comes to Captain Marvel, unquote. The description concludes, quote, yet Kamala feels like she doesn't fit in at school and sometimes even at home. That is, until she gets superpowers like the heroes she's always looked up to. Life gets better with superpowers, right? Well, not necessarily, because I think it was Stan Lee who had Spider-Man. What was Spider-Man's famous quote there? Actually, it wasn't Spider-Man. It was actually Ben Parker's, of course. With great power comes great responsibility, right? With great power comes great responsibility. The series arrived on Disney XD on June the 8th, which I believe is on a Sunday. Wait, no. I don't know. It's actually on a Wednesday. It's on a Wednesday. That's right. What do you make of Feige's explanation for why the power? Well, I mean, if he doesn't feel that the television continuity and the comic continuity are meshed together, then I guess go with more of the TV continuity since it is a TV show. But anyways, there we go. We got the hey Chad, hey Mike. I got Miss Marvel mixed up with Captain Marvel. Well, actually, Marvel Comics does have a Captain Marvel as well. Okay, but the original Captain Marvel, Chad, the original Captain Marvel, Billy Batson, was originally owned by Fawcett Comics. It was originally created by Otto Binder and C.C. Beck. They were the ones who originally created the original Captain Marvel, Billy Batson, the Billy Batson one, who of course now is referred to as Shazam in DC Comics. But he came into the comics existence back in 1940 with Wiz Comics #1. So actually, I think technically it was actually number 3, but because they didn't have a 1 or 2, I believe, or what have you. Anyways, getting ready to move on to the next article then. We're already at 48 minutes. So I guess we're making good time there. And if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream and so we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be of some help. That'd be great. We got one more comics article, and then we'll get into the anime article. Actually, I do have to step away from the computer for a moment, so I'll be right back. I hope you all having a good day and good weekend thus far. While I'm gone, I'll leave you some music to entertain you while I go take care of something real quick. Let's see what's going on. Comment. All right. Well, I'm back now. Back now. So, anyways, getting on to this next art. This is the last comics article we'll be reading through tonight. And I do remember. I think somebody. I don't know if it's Yorohei or Yellow Flash was mentioning this as well. So Tencent reportedly recall. It may have even been RJ. In fact, you may have mentioned this. Tencent reportedly recalling Conan the Barbarian license from Marvel. Actually, no. Now I know who it was. It was James Lee. We were doing the open panel night last night on RJ's channel. Article by Spencer McCooley published yesterday, 15th. So here we go. According to a new report, Tencent has recalled Marvel Comics' license to Conan the Barbarian, supposedly in preparation to self-publish their own stories based on Robert E. Howard's iconic Hyperborean warrior. Word of Conan's departure from the once esteemed comic book publisher's catalog of IPs was first brought to light by Bleeding Quill's Rich Johnston, who on May 14th, which was last Thursday, I believe, published a report to his website announcing Conan license to move on from Marvel Comics. Johnston states that he first became well, I think it should be became, they type out here become, but I think it should be became aware of the supposed loss of the Conan license by Marvel after coming across a Facebook post from an unspecified but quote unquote well-connected fan to an unspecified Conan the Barbarian fan page in which they declared, quote, say goodbye to seeing Esad, and then in bracket Ribic is Conan cover work, and there will be no follow-up to Conan Exodus as Marvel no longer owns the rights to the character. Prompted by this post, Johnston claims to have done quote unquote a little digging while in attendance at the 2022 Lake Como Comic Art Festival held from May 13th to 15th. So this basically this past weekend in Cernobbio, Italy. And in doing so, learned that Cabinet Entertainment, who currently controls the rights to the Conan IP through their subsidiary, Conan Properties International, would indeed be recalling the license from Marvel. So essentially, I guess what they're saying is they're taking back the license in order to do their own comic. That's what I think they're doing. Quote, Bleeding Cool understands that this company or new owners now wish to publish Conan comic books themselves, unquote, wrote the noted comic book journalist. Quote, and so won't be renewing the Marvel Comics license, unquote. Though Rivich himself was in attendance at the festival, it is unknown whether or not he had any involvement in confirming the information to Johnston, as the latter has not publicly identified his alleged sources. Mm. Well, it may be all for naught, but I guess we'll wait and see. Interestingly, Johnston additionally reported, quote, that this will not affect Conan backstock of collections and omnibuses, which Marvel will continue to publish, unquote. So basically, they're any news stories will now be handled through Conan properties instead of through Marvel. Is basically what they're saying. Um, in brackets here, I also understand that Marvel could even use the Conan character in continuing Savage Avengers comic books, unquote. He added, quote, that will have to be seen, unquote. Wait and see if that is the case. It should be noted that thanks to the Chinese tech conglomerate acquisition of Norwegian video game developer Funcom in 2020 and the subsequent purchases of Cabinet Entertainment by Funcom in 2021, this recall leaves most Conan the Barbarian media now under full control of the aforementioned Tencent. Its decision comes just 4 years after Marvel Comics reacquired the license to Conan from Dark Horse Comics, who had previously taken the character over in 2003 following an iconic 33-year run at the rival publisher. So Conan was with Marvel, then they went to Dark Horse, and they went back to Marvel. Now they're going to Cabinet Entertainment. I guess that's the way it is. As seen in solicits, Conan is currently set to appear in Marvel titles at least through July, including Savage Avengers Volume 2, Number 3, and King Conan Volume 2, Number 6, the latter of which publisher teases, quote, closes out the saga of King Conan, unquote. There's the cover of King Conan. Or one of the covers. Let's see. There's the cover for King Conan number 6 right here. What do you make of Marvel's losing the license to Conan the Barbarian? Let us know your thoughts on social media or in comments down below. Well, I mean, it may be becoming par for the course. It may be becoming par for the course. Some of these, I think it might be happening in both DC and either they're going to DC and Marvel in terms of cleaning house. Maybe a little less with Marvel, obviously, but now now they have where people are sitting there saying that anyways. So anyways, let's now get ready to move on to the anime story. One anime story we're gonna cover tonight. Welcome back. Interesting. I know the move with Arnold. All right. All right. All right. So now we're going to hit the one anime article we're going to do tonight here. Just past the hour mark. Yeah. And I guess this is the latest in latest story arc in the Seven Deadly Sins, series. The Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse, gets greenlit for an anime adaptation. Article by Nerdigans Inc., published yesterday, in the anime and manga sections. In celebration of the 10-year anniversary of Nakaba Suzuki's Seven Deadly Sins, in Japanese it's Nanatsu no Taizai, an anime adaptation of its sequel series, Four Knights of the Apocalypse, has officially been greenlit. Now, obviously, from what I understand, the mangaka who wrote Seven Deadly Sins, it's their own personal take on the seven deadly sins of Christian lore. And of course, the four Knights of the Apocalypse are talking probably about the four horsemen of the apocalypse as mentioned in the book of Revelation. Famine, pestilence, um, pestilence, death. I know is one as well. I can't even remember the fourth one for some reason. Anyways, the adaptation was announced in Weekly Shonen Jump magazine's 24th issue of 2022 in the form a color spread featured in front of the series' 61st chapter, depicting all four eponymous knights of the apocalypse facing off against the original series' Seven Deadly Sins. A special announcement declared by a machine translation provided by Google Translate that a quote decision has been made to produce a TV animation of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, unquote. Mm-hmm. Following this reveal, the official Four Knights of the Apocalypse Twitter account shared the anime's first key visual, wherein Percival can be seen standing back with Meliodas. There they are right there. The account also shared a message from Suzuki, who shared this excitement at the fact that, quote, on the 10th anniversary of the Seven Deadly Sins, an anime adaptation of, in smaller quotes, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, smaller quote, has been announced, unquote. Quote, I'm very happy about it, and I'm very enthusiastic about writing more, unquote, exclaimed the mangaka. Quote, we can't wait to see the chemistry between the characters of the Deadly Sins 16 years later and the young protagonist of the apocalypse. Please look forward to both the manga and the anime, unquote. Taking place 16 years after the event of the Seven Deadly Sins, Four Knights of the Apocalypse finds the former group long disbanded and Arthur Pendragon, the self-declared king of chaos, ruling over Camelot. As the series opens, Arthur finds his rule threatened by prophecy which warns that four individuals, the eponymous Four Knights of the Apocalypse, will soon bring him to ruin. Okay, famine, pestilence, war, and death. Those are it right there. All right. For whatever reason, well, because plague and pestilence both would start with P, so that's probably why I was thinking that. So, anyways, their membership composed of the typical pillars of starvation or famine, plague or pestilence, war and death. So, famine, pestilence, war, and death. Okay. Probably because of the fact pestilence and plague are basically the same thing. I was thinking they were two separate things for some reason, but anyways, And just in case you guys don't know, well, famine, I'm sure you all know what starvation famine is. Plague or pestilence is a fancy way of saying plague or illness, sickness. You know, you get sick. War and death, everybody knows what those are. The four are also foretold to destroy the entire world through the causing of four unspecified quote unquote calamities. So they're playing at their. So this is the mangaka's interpretation, I guess, of the Book of Revelations, basically from the Bible. I know the movie with Arnold. Oh, Conan the Conan the. Sorry, now I get it. Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, there was even a Chad. There was even a cartoon back in the early '90s that featured Conan, I believe. Given only a vague hint to the four knights' appearances, quote, an enigmatic shapeshifter of a boy, a child with wing-like green hair, a prince with eyes of holiness and evil, and a woman with golden magic. Arthur proceeds to order his holy knights to seek out and destroy the threats before they can truly pose any danger to his rule. With all four prophesied knights finally united in the series aforementioned 61st chapter, the group's full roster has been revealed to be composed of Percival, the Knight of Death. You see Percival a lot as a name of a knight. I think even Silent Knight had a squire named Percival in DC Comics. But anyways, the Knight of Death and the series' main protagonist, Percival, has the ability to wield the rare and overpowered hope magic, unquote, quote, in smaller quotes, a magic which taps into his comrade's belief in him to increase his power and allow him to create golems with various abilities. All right. I think I saw that also kind of play out in the Thundercats when they talked about the god who preceded Mumra back in the original Thundercats cartoons of the 80s. The quote child with winged like hair, unquote, has also been seen to wield the rare power of death, which, when he feels lonely and hopeless, grants him the power to suck the life force out of whomever he touches. So that's pestilence right there. Lancelot, Knight of War, and a former holy knight of Leonis. Lancelot was assigned by King Melodius to find the four knights of the apocalypse, disguising himself as a talking pink-white fox named Sin to avoid detection by the Knights of Camelot. And the half-fairy son of Ban and Elaine is eventually revealed to be the, quote, enigmatic shapeshifter of a boy, unquote, foretold in the prophecy. Pink, white, fox. Well, that would make a certain amount of sense considering that in Japanese mythology, the nine-tailed fox, the kitsune, is known to be a bit of a trickster. Along with the Tanaki, the one-tailed raccoon. So upon his return from his journey with his master Jericho, Lancelot has been referred to as the Prince of the Lake, as opposed to the Lady of the Lake, I guess. Based on what Guinevere said in chapter 59, it's likely we'll get to what this means later in the series. There's some artwork right there from the manga. Tristan, the son of King Melodius and Queen Elizabeth. Tristan fills the role of the group's resident knight of pestilence. All right. Maybe this is the green wing-like hair of his. Possessing both the powers of both the demon and goddess races, Tristan has aspired to become a holy knight ever since learning of the seven deadly sins on his 10th birthday. Tristan has the ability to use both demon and goddess powers simultaneously. In chapter 61, Peligard confirmed that Tristan was, quote, the prince with the eyes of holiness and evil, unquote, portion of the prophecy. Dark and light intermixed together. The interesting dichotomy there. Let's see. Wow, I didn't know about the cartoon. Yeah. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. Actually, it might have been early, like 91, 92. Quote, Prince with eyes of holiness and evil, unquote, is currently set to star in a two-part movie titled The Seven Deadly Sins Grudge of Edinburgh. Um, featuring an original story by Suzuki. Both movies will be streamed by Netflix, with the first part set to release sometime in 2022. Gawain, a blood relative of the enemy King Arthur and possessing the power to use golden magic, the aptly named Master of the Sun, or Gawain, is the prophesied Knight of Famine. So basically, Gawain, I guess the way he would use his powers is he'd just literally burn the ground to the point to where it could, would just completely evaporate all the moisture and nothing could grow in the ground. It just becomes completely dry and hard. Staying true to the Arthurian lord, Gawain is a complete romantic, and even in the group's first encounter with her attempts to swoon, um, Isolde. Gawain is a gender swap version of the her Arthurian counterpart. As of yet, it's unknown whether she's completely a woman or if there's a Rama one half gender switching situation going on. In other words, she gets hot, she's a woman. She gets cold, or she gets dunked in cold water, she turns into a guy. That's what they're getting at, or vice versa. Studio has yet to announce. Yet the studio has yet to be announced or to announce, but the entire fandom is praying there is a studio change. An animation studio for the series has yet to be announced, but the entire fandom is praying for a studio change from the Seven Deadly Sins last Studio Dean. Are you excited about Four Knights of the Apollo anime adaptation? Are you hoping for a studio change? I've never seen it, so I can tell you, let us know your thoughts on social media or in the comments down below. Alrighty then, so there we go with the articles. We're done with reading the articles. Let's see, we're at hour 17 here. Let me see now. Be right back in a bit, okay? All right, so we got through all, done with the articles now. So we'll kind of start, talking a little bit about some of the wrestling tidbits going on. Okay, so first off, in WWE Roundup right now, some sad news to report. As two former WWF legends, wrestlers, have each announced recently. Well, one is a return of cancer, the other, the development of cancer. First off, as announced last week, Mike Jones, better known to most wrestling fans as as WWF's Virgil, the $1 Million Man's bodyguard, or Vincent from his time in WCW. It was announced last week that he has been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Mike Jones, aka Vincent Virgil. He's been going through some medical issues of late, including suffering from some forms of dementia. It was also reported recently, I think he had a stroke or a heart attack. So he's right now, I think, got an Indiegogo, or he got a crowdfunding thing going on to try to cover his expenditures. I know that Chris Jericho of AEW made a big donation to help the cause, and it's been said that Jericho has been very big on trying to help former wrestlers in those situations. Also, it was announced today. I saw this news article today that after having been diagnosed as cancer free back in December of last year, Jim Duggan's prostate cancer has so Jim Duggan, as many of you remember, Hacksaw Jim Duggan from WWF fame as well as his time in WCW. He had been struggling for a while with not colon, but prostate cancer. I guess he announced it had been cancer free in December, but it has apparently returned. He's going through some radiation right now. He still plans on making a lot of the dates they scheduled for him. Some he may have to cut out, for certain reasons. But yeah, some sad news there that two legends there, having some medical issues there. And it looks like Bailey is set to return to WWE soon after her injuries. And of course, we'll have more news on what's going on in WWE tomorrow, as of course tonight, Raw will be on. Let's see. Now to some AEW news. As we're moving more and more towards the pay-per-view at the end of the month here, last Friday, of course, first off, Ruby Soho advanced to the next round in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, defeating former AEW women's champion Riho. Now, in the other, originally Red Velvet was originally scheduled as Hikaru Shida. Now, for storyline purposes, they basically said that she was not cleared to wrestle medically after her Philadelphia street fight with Serena Deeb. But that was to help cover up the fact that she was not able to get back into the country for the match soon enough, as she's over in Japan right now participating in some touring over there. So it was announced this past Friday, though, that Hikaru Shida's replacement in the women's bracket of the Owen Hart tournament is Chris Statlander, who's been coming more and more into her own of late, as I guess this coming Wednesday, Wildcard Wednesday, and also Tony Storm, advanced in the tournament last Wednesday as well for the women's side of it. So I think coming up this Wednesday, what they call Wild Card Wednesday, we're going to have Red Velvet taking on Chris Statlander in one semifinal round. The other semifinal round is going to be Dr. Britt Baker, another former AEW World, of course, the most recent former, the one that current champion Thunder Rosa defeated. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, will be taking on a mystery opponent, what they call the Joker opponent, because it's going to be a mystery opponent. Also, of course, this coming Wednesday, in a couple of days here, Samoa Joe will be taking on the men's bracket Joker opponent, and also I believe going on in that match as well, will also be Ryan O'Reilly of Red Dragon taking on Ray Phoenix. So that should be an exciting match. As last Wednesday, of course, both Jeff Hardy and Adam Cole both advanced in the tournament to the semifinal round. So, and also what happened on last Friday, Scorpio Sky retained the TNT title in a title defense over longtime friend Frankie Kazarian. And what was the storyline was built up. These are two longtime friends. You kind of came up together here in the California wrestling scene. And so Scorpio Sky was trying to play it face and was really wanting it to be a fair match until he retained his title with the help of Ethan Page, one of his teammates from the men's best faction, of course, led by manager Don Lambert. Anyway, so with that, also we have some, of course, Impact Wrestling news. As on this past, as Slammiversary is coming up in a few weeks here on Sunday, June 19th. Slammiversary for Impact Wrestling is, of course, celebrating 20 years since it first started up back in 2002. And some of the matches have already been established. So they had a gauntlet for the gold. Excuse me a moment, folks. I'm gonna make some lighting changes here. I'll be right back. I'll be right back here. I'm back. I'm back. Anyways, talking about again, getting through some of the wrestling stories here. As I was saying, they're setting up for Impact Slammiversary coming up on June 19th. As on this past week's edition of Impact Wrestling, the main event saw them do a gauntlet for the gold, which was won by Eric Young. Eric Young, who is among the current active wrestlers in Impact, is the most decorated male wrestler in Impact Wrestling. He's tied all time as most decorated. When I say most decorated, meaning most titles, most overall titles won. Which that includes the World Heavyweight, World Tag Team, X Division, Television, whatever, any and all names. Excuse me a moment here, real quick. There we go. Anyways, um, so as the most decorated, he won the gauntlet for the gold and will now get a shot at the TNA World Title, which is currently held by the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander's had some pretty, he had the big feud with Moose to regain the TNA Impact World Heavyweight Title, and then he had a very tough match here at Under Siege this last weekend over New Japan's Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii. Now he's gonna have to face Impact Wrestling veteran Eric Young at Slammiversary. Also, it was announced by the head of the women's division, Gail Kim, TNA Hall of Famer. Her, along with, of course, Madison Rayne, who is, of course, currently one half of the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions with Tennille Dashwood as the influence, is the most decorated women's wrestler in Impact. So, hey, Chad. Just finishing up here. Yeah. So, anyways, so it was announced by Gail Kim, who's the head of the women's division in Impact, that for the first time ever at Slammiversary, there will be a Queen of the Mountain match. Now, the Queen of the Mountain match, of course, is the female version of what TNA came up with a few years ago called the King of the Mountain match. Now, for you guys to understand what the King of the Mountain match, which was invented by Jeff Jarrett, was kind of what they call a reverse ladder match. Instead of trying to take something down from a hanging position, in this case, you have to hang something up. You have to actually have the ladder to go up to hang something. So, and how the match would work in the King of the Mountain, which is the men's version of it, would be if you pin if a person took a pin, they were put in a penalty box for a certain amount of time. And the idea is that if you could eliminate the other competitors there, you grab the ladder and then go and hang the belt up, and whoever hangs the belt up would win the match. So coming to Slammiversary will be the female equivalent to the King of the Mountain match, the Queen of the Mountain match, where the women will have to try to hang the belt up to nice to win the match and win the title. Now the participants, there'll be 6 women involved in this. The current TNA Knockouts champion Tasha Steelz, along with Diana Peraza, who just recently lost both the Ring of Honor and actually, I think it's going to be a 5 people involved, I believe. Let's see. No, actually, there are 6. Okay, no. Let's see. There's Diana Peraza, who is the most recent ROH and AAA. She lost both those titles in a matter of a month here. Let's see. Among the other participants in the match include the woman who beat Diona for the AAA Reina de Reinas championship, Taya Valkyrie, Jordan Grace, Mia Yim, and I believe that's it. I believe those were the 5 who were going to be involved in this Queen of the Mountain match. Also, a couple weeks ago, it was also actually no, the Briscoe brothers had already beaten Violent by Design for the tag title. That's right. I was just trying to think of that. So that's pretty much what's going on in the wrestling world right now. Of course, among some of the other things going on include NWA is preparing for their next pay-per-view on June the 11th. Always Ready, named after, of course, current NWA World Champion and Impact Wrestling Digital Media Champion Matt Cardona's catchphrase, coming up on June the 11th. I know AEW has a pay-per-view at the end of this month on the 29th. So that's all the wrestling news I have for you guys. We're coming up on an hour 35 right now. We're just past hour 35. TNA is still around. Yeah, but it's not quite as prominent as it used to be, Chad. They do have their own YouTube channel. If you want to watch some of their stuff, you can go subscribe to them. But it's not called TNA anymore. It's now known as Impact Wrestling. The company is now called Impact Wrestling. It's no longer TNA. It hasn't actually been TNA for, I think, like last 5 or 6 years or so. I think when Anthem Sports bought out Dixie Carter, they changed the name totally to Impact Sports. But it's also not really. There's not a whole lot of people you probably recognize there. Like Rhino is one of the guys who's there. There are a few guys who are formerly in the WWE, like Big Cass, who's now known as W. Morrissey, Brian Myers, who was known as Kurt Hawkins in the WWE. But aside from that, there's not a whole lot of people you know from there. But it's still going on strong. I would say it's kind of like the 3rd or 4th tier program. I mean, yeah, the WWE, you have AEW, and then Impact is probably considered right after that, and NWA after that. So those are like Ring of Honor is now kind of merged, with Tony Khan buying out Ring of Honor. They're kind of merged with AEW. So anyways, guys, I think I've hit just about everything there is. So unless you guys have any other questions or anything like that, I think I might start wrapping things up a bit here. We're at the hour 37 mark. If you guys have any questions you want to ask, or anything else you want to talk about or ask about, we can do that. If not, I think I'll start wrapping up and getting ready to hit the niche history. I'll give you guys a few minutes to respond. Nice. I didn't know about that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, that's part of the reason why. Hey, you know something, Chad? That's part of the reason why I do this. To put the information out there so people have the information. You know, whoever wants the information. If you wanted to know about like TNA and NWA, more about that, as well as covering still like AEW and WWE as well. Excuse me a moment. I'm going to go off camera one more time here because it's getting pretty dim in here. I'll be right back. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Anyways, I think it's we're almost at an hour 40 here, so I think it's a good time to start wrapping things up a bit here. We'll get into this day in each history. So today is Monday. Um, Today is Monday, May 16th, um, 2022. So let's take a look back at this day in each history. History. So, anyways, yeah. First off, we're going to head back 50 years ago today, as on this date, 50 years ago today, Paul Jones had defeated Jack Briscoe for the NWA Florida heavyweight title in Tampa, Florida. So back when the NWA, of course, had a bunch of territories throughout the United States, Paul Jones was down in Florida, and he was able to defeat Jack Briscoe, who about a year after this would eventually become the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Jack Briscoe was defeated by Paul Jones, known more for his time in the Mid-Atlantic area Jim Crockett Promotions as both a wrestler in the 70s and manager in the 80s. Paul Jones had defeated him for the NWA Florida Heavyweight title. So with that, let's get ready to move on to the next piece of niche history. And I'm just sorry that more people aren't here because this is kind of interrelated to comics as well, even though this is more about an animated TV series. I'm sure many of my regulars I'm sure at least some of the regulars have seen this one. But on this date, back in 1997, 25 years ago today, Todd McFarlane's Spawn debuted on HBO. So on this date, 25 years ago today, Spawn had debuted on HBO. So sure, there are a few people in this circle who would probably appreciate that bit of history. Anyways, and last but not least, got one more piece of niche history to go through here. as on this date, 21 years ago today, the 75th and final issue of Generation X from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date in back in 2001. So 21 years ago today, the story was Brand New Day, written by Brian Wood, with penciled by Ron Lim, inked by Sandy Florea, lettered by Richard Starkings, and Jennifer Schlesinger did the coloring. So on this date, back 21 years ago today, 75th and final issue of Generation X from Marvel Comics went on sale on newsstands. It was sold for $2.99, had 48 pages. So there we go. So that's all of this day in each history for you. I like the Spawn cartoon. Yeah. Well, it's probably considered more of an animated series than cartoon, but to be technical. But yeah, I know a lot of people probably have watched that at some point. So let me see. So as we wrap up here, a reminder, of course, don't forget, we'll be back on tomorrow night with, with more niche news and stuff like that. Forget this Friday, of course, is our weekly look back at comics history. Go, of course, will be with me. We'll be finishing up our coverage of January 1939. Going through some of the work of Fiction House Comics, most notably Jumbo Comics Volume 1, Number 6. Be reading from that, including, the features we'll be focusing on, of course, include Sheena of the Jungle, Gilda Gay, The Modern Girl, and Weird Stories of Supernatural, The Secret Diary of Dr. Hayward. So, as always, guys, I hope to see you back here tomorrow night. I hope to see you guys here throughout the week. Hope you guys enjoyed, learning a thing or two. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye.